Hey there, have you ever noticed that the more notes you take, the less you actually remember? You watch twice, you read twice, highlight important, write beautiful notes, and somehow your brain still forget it. That's because your brain is not a hard drive. It's not built to store information, it's built to connect it. Well, if I talk about me, once I stopped trying to remember everything and start focusing on how ideas connect, my learning completely transformed. And this is what I want to show you, why storing information doesn't work, how your brain actually learns, and how tools like Obsidian help you build a system that thinks the way your brain does. So let's fix the way you learn. When we sit down to learn and take notes, most of us fall into the same trap. We try to store everything we learn. We highlight every line that sounds important. We copy quotes for word. We save entire article to read later and it feels productive, right? We are collecting information. Our notes folders looks full. Our notes look neat. Our brain feels busy. But storing information is not the same as understanding it. I used to have hundreds of book notes. I was proud of them, like how organized I am, until I realized when I need to use that knowledge, I couldn't. All I had were disconnected pieces of text, facts without meaning, data without context. It's like dumping files into a folder on your computer. Everything is saved, yes, but you still have to dig through a mess to find what matters, and more importantly, you can't think better because of it. Our education system reward memorization, our productivity tools reward storage, but learning doesn't happen when you store information. It happens when you connect it. That's the real problem. We are trying to use storage mindset for something that actually depends on connection. Well, here is the thing, our brain doesn't learn by saving information, it learns by linking it. In neuroscience, there is a phrase, neurons that fire together wire together. That's literally how our brain builds knowledge. Every time you understand something new, your brain connects it to something you already know. So if you are just rereading, rewatching, or re-highlighting, you are not firing any new connection. You are just reloading data, like refreshing a web page. But when you pause to think, when you ask yourself, how does this relate to what I already know, or where I have seen this idea before, that's when your brain start writing those ideas together. That's when turn information into understanding. That's what make learning stick. So think of your brain less like a hard drive and more like a network, like a web. Every new idea becomes a node that only grows stronger when it connects to others. And that's why storing isn't enough. Storage create isolation, connection create meaning. Once I understood this, everything about how I learned had to change, including how I write my notes. Once I realized my brain doesn't store, it connect, I had to change how I take notes. Before, I used to treat notes like storage box. Each idea had its own little container. It feels organized, but nothing ever talk to each other. Now I treat notes more like a building blocks. Each note is a piece of bigger picture. Something that links grow, expand over time. That's the real difference between note taking and note making. Note taking is about capturing, but note making is about connections. So here is what I do now, and you can do the same. When I learn something new, I don't just write it down, I ask myself, where does this idea fit in the bigger picture of what I already know? Then inside Obsidian, I link it. Let me show you how I did that. Let's say I'm learning about active recall, that's one node. Then I learn about the forgetting curve, that's another node. When I link them, active recall to forgetting curve, something magical happen. It's not just two nodes anymore, it's one connected insights. Like active recall fight the forgetting curve. Now when I open my graph view, I'm not seeing random files. I'm seeing my brain how my ideas connect and grow over time. That's when note making stop being about saving knowledge and start being about creating it. So how do you actually start learning this way? How do you stop storing and start connecting? Let me give you 3 simple steps that I still use every day. So step 1, stop copying and start translating. When you come across a new idea, don't just copy it down. Pause and ask, how would I explain this idea in my own words? That single step forces your brain to rebuild the idea, not just record it. It's like turning a screenshot into a sketch. You understand it way more deeply because you created it. Step 2, ask connecting questions. Once you have written it in your own words, ask, where does this fit in what I already know? What does this remind me of? How does this connect to something I have already learned before? These questions are small, but they completely change your mindset. You are no longer collecting information, you are building a web of understanding. Step 3, link your thoughts. Now take those connections and make them visible. That's where Obsidian comes in. If one node connect to another, link it. From here you will start noticing patterns. You will find relationship between ideas you didn't even realize were related. And the more you do this, the smarter your notes become. That's the beauty of this approach. Over time, your notes stop being storage and start becoming a thinking space, a place where ideas meet, grow, evolve, just like they do in your brains. So, my friend, your brain never meant to be a storage device, it meant to be a connection machine. When you try to store everything, you end up remembering nothing. But when you start connecting what you learn, everything begin to make sense. Because learning isn't about how much information you collect, it's about how well that information connects. When I switch from treating my brains like hard drive to treating it like a network, I stop chasing more notes, more books, more inputs, and I start building real understanding. That's what note making is about. That's what tools like Obsidian are built for. Not to store information, but to help you think better with information you already have. So, if you have been filling your folders and still feel stuck, maybe it's time to stop storing and start connecting. Other than this, if you have saved so many videos, articles to read later but couldn't find motivation or time to finish them, watch this next video, in which I have shared my personal system to read and watch content that's saved for later. You can also find the link in the description. Well, that's all I wanted to say for this video. Let's jump to the next one. See you there.